Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. This road is a little bit smoother than the other road that you see me on sometimes, so hopefully it won't be quite as bad. I know some of you get a kick out of that, others it annoys, and many of you say you're gonna tear your truck up driving on stuff like that. Well, what am I supposed to do? And this is just how we live, right? It's just how it is. Majority of the roads I drive on are like that. Oh my goodness. The war drums are getting loud, folks. They're getting loud, and things are happening a lot. But before I get to that, I want to point out that if you watched my video this morning, which you have, if you haven't, you probably should. I go on a little bit of a rant about how this civilization is basically serving up on a platter its children in their innocence. It's beyond horrific. But anyways, I wanted to point this out. This father, and this is where it's headed. This is where it's headed. His father in Nashville was arrested for making threats to the teacher and the staff because they told his daughter to read this book, and it was a transgender book on transgender, and her assignment was to read this book and write a report on it, and she refused to do so because it violated, her beliefs, and so they put her in detention. The father goes to the school, gets into kind of a verbal argument with the teacher, and threatened her. Now, I'm not saying that it's okay to threaten people. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying what this guy did is exactly the right thing to do. But deep down as a parent, I find myself not being able to condemn what this man did. He didn't do anything physically. Everything he said was words. But anyways, he was arrested and charged with some type of, making terroristic and homicidal threats to the teacher and the staff. Unfortunately, for most of us, in most places that we live, the law is not on our side. Too many prosecutors have been funded by George Soros organizations and such that unfortunately, it's just not on our side anymore. I mean, I'm not saying that everyone in the whole law enforcement field and prosecutorial field is all bad. I'm just saying, just not on our side anymore. And, when you're preparing for the end of the world as we know it, you should also be preparing for living in a world that you can't allow your children to be part of it. How are you going to set that up? How are you going to break away from the civilization, from the culture, to protect your children? Because it's coming, folks. It's already here, okay? But right now it's just pressure, peer pressure type stuff, influence. Eventually they're going to get it to where it's legal. They're going to get it to where if you don't use the right pronoun and you don't allow your child to be taught this, you're going to go to jail, or they're going to call, Child Protective Services because you're an unfit parent, because you're not allowing, your children to learn about all of this demonic stuff. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. It's free world for a little while longer. Iran is about to become a major player globally. Now, whether or not this is true or not, this is what Iran is saying, that they've announced that they have discovered lithium deposits in Iran that could be the second largest known lithium deposits on the planet. And right now, lithium is one of those rare earth minerals that's very sought after. Virtually all of this green energy stuff depends on lithium. Lithium, cobalt, a few other things, but lithium's a big one. And Iran may now have one of the largest deposits of it on the planet. And they're buddying up with people like China, which also controls or owns a lot of these rare earth mineral deposits, because they have mining companies all over Africa that's taking over, it's controlling them. That's what they're doing in Afghanistan now since we left. And here we've got China that's controlling a lot of this stuff in some form or fashion. And now Iran, and of course Russia has a lot of this kind of stuff. We may not ever have to engage in a physical conflict with Russia and China and Iran to actually lose. They may starve us to death when it comes to advancing into technologies. And I'm not for all this advancement in technologies. I think the way they're doing it is ridiculous. We've this deep state kind of, men behind the curtain thing. They've suppressed real technology for far too long. Free energy technologies, highly efficient combustible engine technologies, it's all been suppressed. Patent office and all these big corporations, just do the research, it's all out there, it's not too secretive. So I'm not in favor of this electric vehicle that's dependent upon a coal powered, all that. But the point is that's the way the world's going right now. And China and Iran and Russia and Africa and stuff, not us, not the West, is lining up to have a large control of all the necessary minerals it takes to make this stuff. The Russian Duma, which if you don't know, that's the lower house of their Congress, would be like the House of Representatives. The Russian Duma has called for Russia to declare war on Ukraine. That let's just quit this general security, police thing that we're doing, and let's just go all in. War on Ukraine is what they're calling for. It's very possible that could happen. Ukraine is asking for cluster bombs. A lot of stuff going on with Taiwan right now. A lot of some very major military exercises between us and Taiwan and us and South Korea, which of course has China and North Korea very upset. This kind of stuff is it's happening, and it's happening at a pretty elevated pace. And I know I keep saying it, and some of you just say, yeah, it's been saying this for a while. Well, we were saying the same thing about Russia invading Ukraine with people rolling their eyes, and guess what? They did it. So the possibility of some type of conflict expanding into more of a global conflict every day is becoming more real, folks. Every day becoming more real. Domestic news, did you see this? 4 Americans were shot at and kidnapped just on the other side of the border. FBI is investigating it, and we still have an open border. We have drug cartels that they're not like it is in Hollywood, where they're just they're just bringing their dope across the border. That's it. No, these people are absolutely, they're horrific. If you listen to the interview that I did on the JB Wells show last week, he talked about a very horrific video that's come out, and it was part of the drug cartel where while this young woman was alive, they mutilated her body, cutting arms off, hands off, and eventually decapitating her. These people are every bit on the level of what we saw in the Middle East out of ISIS and the Taliban and people like that over the last couple of decades. Every bit as cruel and horrid as that, if not worse. I've seen numbers of upwards of 85,000 deaths, murders on the border due specifically to cartel in the last years too. The amount of people coming across, of course, you know this, it's just, the numbers are just exploding. It's more than they can handle down there. We're now prosecuting American citizens because people are coming across onto their property and doing things. If you've been following that older gentleman ended up shooting an illegal, and it wasn't just because he was on their property. There was a whole group of them. This guy had been caught many times and keeps coming back across, made some threatening gestures in some way towards this man. He was protecting his home. He was elderly, protecting him and his wife, and he fired on him, killed the guy. And now that guy's in prison for he's got like $1 million bond or something like that. What? He should be pinning a medal on him because he's actually taking a stand from these criminals coming across our border to do harm. And I didn't say that every single one of them are that. There's certainly a lot of it. I was seeing the other day that there's an environmental issue on the border because there's so many of these people coming across, coming through the river there and the creeks and stuff, and they're dumping their garbage. There's garbage everywhere, and it's causing these waterways and stuff, irrigation ways that are used for farming and stuff, to get clogged up because of the amount of garbage that's being dumped down there. I mean, we're still waiting on Kamala Harris, the border czar, to get down there and do her job. But I mean, it's been over 2 years now, so I guess she's just not going to do it. Joe Biden's not going to go down there. No one cares. Why? Because this is part of the plan. It's part of the plan to allow this to come in, to completely changed, voting demographics and just demographics in general, to allow these criminal elements to come in to bring our nation down. We are this big, prosperous nation of plenty, land of plenty. Well, how can you be the land of plenty when you're allowing millions upon millions of people into the country that, for the majority of it, at least now, may not have been this way years ago, but the majority of them now are just sucking off the government. They're bringing disease over, they're bringing crime over, and even the ones that are working and making money, it's getting sent back to Mexico. Mexico's not on our side. We act like Mexico's some kind of ally of ours. Most of South America isn't on our side anymore. I mean, even the other day, Brazil is allowing Iranian warships to dock at Brazilian ports. America said, hey, please don't do this. We don't want you doing this. This is a national security issue in the Western Hemisphere. And Brazil said, too bad. And so there's Iranian warships just south of us. There's been tons of reports of China and Russia troops in Mexico doing training. How many are still there? Who knows? All this is happening while America basically sleeps. America sleeps. I saw a quote the other day, and I've heard it before, seen it before. I cannot verify if it's real. There's all these quotes now that are fake. Abraham Lincoln, trust the internet, that kind of thing. Believe it was supposed to be from Leonardo da Vinci. And he said, I awoke from my slumber only to find that the whole world is still asleep. I think that's very much, whether he said that or not, it doesn't matter. It's very much what's happening. That there are people, you, myself, some of us have been awake for a long, long time. Some of you are just now waking up. Only to find that the rest of the world is still asleep. And these powers in control are banking on the fact that the vast majority of the world is still asleep. I was talking this morning about all these drag queen shows for children that they're doing and how horrible, absolutely horrendous. I don't know of anyone, and I know people that are on the left. I see them online, I know them in person, that are, left-leaning, and they see this stuff and they think it's horrible. I don't know of anyone that doesn't. And I wonder, I ask myself, why are we not seeing, whole cities in uproar when these things happen in their city? I mean, there should be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people taking to the streets, threatening to tar and feather anyone that okayed this. Why are we not seeing this? Well, part of the problem is that I would venture to guess that the vast majority of Americans don't even know it's happening. The vast majority they just don't know. They're not seeing it. It's not on their radar. And that's sad. It's sad that they don't see how this nation is absolutely being destroyed from within. And that's how this nation will be destroyed. It's not going to be destroyed by China or Russia or anything like that. It's going to be destroyed from within. And it is. Maybe these external forces will weaken us, but the destruction will happen from within. And the vast majority of the reason why the destruction will happen from within is because so many of the American people are just asleep at the wheel. They have no clue what's going on, and they don't care. As long as their paycheck comes in on time and they get to go watch their ball game and their kids get to go to their soccer match and all this other stuff, and they're going to college, and then nothing else matters. Many years ago, I ran for public office. Of course, didn't get elected, obviously. But what has amazed me is when I would talk to people, and I would talk to them about all of these constitutional issues going on in our world. So many people agreed. They'd say, absolutely. I mean, I would talk to Democrats, and I was running as an independent. Talk to both Democrats and Republicans. Majority of them would say, yeah, you're right. But you know what the response after that would be? There's nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it. It's sad. There's nothing you can do about it. And I'd say, well, there could be if you voted for me and others like me. But people don't. People are asleep. And yes, you can have hope that at some point enough people, like during the revolution, that there's at least 3% of the people that's willing to go out there and fight for this. You can hope for that. And it may happen. But as of right now, the vast majority of this population, of this country, of this civilization is completely asleep, and they're content with that. And we're watching the enemy from within completely destroy us. And that's absolutely what's happening. It's why I promote being self-sufficient. It's why I promote getting out of this system, getting out of this culture, walking away from it, and saying, I may not be able to do everything, but I will do as many things as I can outside of this whole system. Until we start doing that, we're just part of it. We're just Lot, living right in the midst of Sodom and Gomorrah, while they're beating on our doors, telling us to give us your children. It's exactly what's happening. It's time to get your houses in order. Prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.